and answering his questions.
What is it? Order Mwenje. Order Mwenje. Order Mwenje. Order Mwenje. This is not a marketplace, for heaven's sake. And as a young lawyer and a young MP, I've been mentoring you, telling you how to conduct yourself in many ways. However agitated you are, just maintain you are cool like the good old doctor next to you. Yes. Even if you have a point of order, you don't have to stand up and shout at your colleague. It's actually grossly disorderly conduct. Carry on, Marian.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. If we look at this,
you have less than a minute to go.
Thank you. If we look at this particular ruling, Honorable Speaker, it talks about that you cannot be a member of a political party because you are not a member of Parliament yet, and that is under the Political Parties Act. Yet, the Constitution of Kenya, which is more supreme, actually states that the Honorable Speaker is an ex-officio member of Parliament, and therefore, the rights that a member of Parliament enjoys is the same rights the Speaker enjoys, and therefore the Speaker can belong to a party.
Thank you. Member for Kajiado South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand also just to support the ruling by the High Court. We are supposed to abide by the ruling, and it's also good for today to confess that, Mr. Speaker, the time you are being voted in, personally, I voted for you. And even today, if it was to be repeated, I would still vote for you. So that time you got a lot of votes.
Thank you for that.
You had a lot of friends. You had a lot of friends that time. And even now you have more. Mr. Speaker, if all of us are looking at the other agreement that have come in, my party that I serve, ODM, is also in the broad-based government as per now. We are also in the broad-based government. What I was requesting, can we let me just finish. Let me finish.
Address across the floor. Address the chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker. My argument was, if we are able to go back to 2022 when the Kenyan people voted, they voted on manifesto, they voted on certain beliefs. So when the Azimioa One Kenya went to court, they went to look for justice at that time. It doesn't mean that even if justice took 2 years, then because judgment has been made, it is, for example, someone who has taken your property and given you a half of the property, and finally, the judgment has been made that the property is yours. You'll go back and take your property. I respect Kemani Chunga and I love him so much, but I also ask that Honorable Junet Mohammed is qualified to be the majority leader, and the Kenyans are waiting that decision to be made today. As you go ahead, and the broad-based, let us enjoy the broad-based. What is the fruit of this broad-based? What's the fruits? We need that fruit, Mr. Speaker, today to see if they can give us a small cut of the meat. Thank you.
Chikati. Give him the mic. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Article 106 does not disqualify a political leader from holding a speaker's office at all. And I'll give some examples. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Speaker of this House, Madam Gladys Swalei, is an elected member of this Assembly from Uasin Gishu County. Mr. Speaker, the party leader of MDG, Honorable Cheng, is a member of the Speaker's panel and is also a party leader. The Senate Speaker, Amason Kingi, is a party leader of a party called Pamoja Africa Alliance Party. Regionally, Mr. Speaker, all the national assemblies, all the county assemblies are also being led by elected speakers in the county assemblies. Regionally, The Speaker of Uganda, Madam Anita Among, is also an elected member of Parliament from Bukedea district. In Tanzania, the Speaker of the National Assembly of Tanzania, Tulia Ackson, is an elected member of the National Assembly from Mbeya. This decision of disqualifying a speaker from holding a political office is unconstitutional and is an attempt to change Article 106 of the Constitution and is totally unacceptable. I submit.
Thank you. Ben Suda. Okay.
Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I would want to seek for clarification and give my view on this issue. One, Speaker, we need to take a 13th Parliament to stop giving the public mixed reactions and mixed signals on issues. And therefore, court rulings must be respected. Mr. Speaker, you know very well when there was the ruling on the wild goose chase, hot air and the rest, it was respected. When we are in this house, Mr. Speaker, as legislatures, as lawmakers, I would want to support our colleagues who have requested you to guide and give us direction so that it is not for only members at this particular moment, but even for the years to come. When we undergo such kind of eventualities, things are set straight and pace is set. I want to appreciate the 6 facts which you gave on the ruling that the Speaker has conflict on interest. I was convinced with your 6 facts. But coming to the majority, party or position, Mr. Speaker, as I stand, you can see that I am and we are broadly competent and broadly majority. Even from the physical outlook, I'm the majority. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that this matter should be put... Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority is not judged by body morphology.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was intentional, but even the brain is majority. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that even the level that we have reached as a country, Honorable Junet Mohammed has navigated the River Niles and made sure that we are fully represented and there is peace. So this issue of mixed signals should not be there. Mr. Speaker, I say there is nothing wrong.
KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you that I was able to catch your eye. And Mr. Speaker, you're hereby called upon to make a decision. And your decision is intended to be, expected to be a very Solomonic decision. Mr. Speaker, as you make your decision, you have to appreciate, one, that the problem that we are facing today is not a legal problem. In fact, it is a political problem, it is a numerical problem, it is about political numbers. Mr. Speaker, as you retreat to your chamber to make a ruling on this matter, all you need to understand is that there are pre-election coalitions and post-election coalitions. And this is Kenyans who decided, as they were granting themselves the constitution, that parties can come together before an election and come together after an election. So, Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, so that this House can apply itself on the issues that Kenyans are keen to hear us debating, matters that concern their welfare, Mr. Speaker, I would call upon this House to agree that if, Mr. Speaker, you were to take a head count today, you would find that Kenya Kwanza is the majority, that Kimani Ichung'wah is the substantive majority leader, and that the numbers as they stand today, Mr. Speaker, you are right in your place to make a decision that Kenya Kwanza is the majority and status quo remains. Mr. Speaker, this is not legal, this is arithmetic, it is political. Just like Bunge cannot apply itself on interpreting the law, the courts cannot make political decisions for this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask us to protect the sanctity of this House so that we can go into the business that Kenyans elected us to do. They did not elect us to argue about who is leader of majority and who is leader of minority. Mr. Speaker, make your ruling.
Rueda Obo.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, twaheshimu uamuzi wa koti, lakini hapa hatukubaliani nao. Hatukubaliani nao kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu mwanzo sisi kama Jubilee Party, sisi tulikuwa tushaenda, hatuko kwa Azimio. Ukiangalia mawaziri wale tuko nao sahihi, wale walopeleka hii mambo kotini, Mheshimiwa Wandai, Mheshimiwa Waziri Mbadi, sahihi wako kwa hii serikali, wao ni mawaziri. Kweni hawa majaji walikuwa hawaoni kwamba mambo yamepita na mambo yameendelea? Kweni walikuwa wanaishi Kenya gani? Sasa huku ni kuleta taharuki, na sisi hatuna haja ya taharuki. Hii serikali imepitia changamoto kubwa, changamoto nyingi. Kwa hivyo tunaomba tafadhali watupatie nafasi tuendelee. Na hili jambo lako Speaker, mimi naona kama wewe, yani nashangaa kitu kama katiba haikusema, imenyamaza. Yamaanisha inaruhusiwa, so haina haja kuwalenga maspika wawili hawa. Katiba iko, ifuatwe katiba. Katiba haikukataza. Kwa hivyo kwa vile haikukataza, inamaanisha ni sawa ukue hapo kama Speaker. Bwana Speaker, mimi naona mlengwa ni wewe, na labda utuambie ukweli. Hatujui umefanya nini huko, likanyaga waya au kuna history gani huko. Naona kama ni mlengwa wewe, umelengwa hapo. Na sisi tuwaona haya mambo ni kama kumwambia bibi na bwana wameoana, sasa uwaambie nyinyi kwa hamuruhusiwi legally kuoana. Watu washazaa, watu wamependana. Sisi tumeshikana kama broad base hiyo broad base. Sasa ya nini shida zote hizi?
Aseka from Huisero. Give him the mic, he's at the end there.
John.
There you are.
Thank you, Speaker. I've read the judgment, the 71 pages and 508 paragraphs. And I want to request you, Speaker, as you retire to do your judgment and your ruling, consider the repercussions of this ruling on the composition of the IBC selection panel, the repercussions on the Commission on Revenue Allocation, which was approved by this House, and its finding. Honorable Speaker, also consider the repercussions of the committee reports of this House. Mr. Speaker, also consider and advise this House if, when the court says that you as a political leader or maybe a party leader is not supposed to preside over this House, does it mean if even the President of the Republic of Kenya, who is a party leader in this country, is supposed to resign when he takes over or when he took over the Parliament, the executive? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kitui, is it Kitui Central? Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is my input to this issue. In this House, everybody who sits in this House sought to protect the Constitution. We also sought to defend and protect the Constitution, Honorable Speaker. As it is now, the courts have given a ruling, and I have not seen anybody in this House who has tabled a stay order to this House saying that things should be the way they are supposed to be. Unless that has happened, Honorable Speaker, the House has no choice but to respect the position of the courts, the ruling, whereby, as at the time we joined this House, there were pre-election coalition agreements which had been signed. On the basis of those pre-election coalition agreements, Azimioa was declared to be the majority leader. The way forward, Honorable Speaker, is if there are post-election coalition agreements which have been signed or formalized, they just need to be tabled, Honorable Speaker, and this matter will make it very easy for you to make a ruling. But even as you make a ruling, Honorable Speaker, composition of committees, slots to the ABC Commission were determined on the basis of majority party, minority party. So it will have implication in terms of that. So, Honorable Speaker, the sooner you do this, the better for the House, because you'll be able to know how do we then reorganize the committees, because In a situation where Kenya Kwanza were the majority and now they are the minority, it means we have to rework the committees by reducing the numbers. So, Honorable Speaker, this is not a very simple matter as we are taking it. We need to take it very seriously, Honorable Speaker, and the starting point is to know, do we have post-election coalition agreements which have been formalized? Some parties have also crossed the other side, Honorable Speaker. We are aware. Some of us, Wiper, we are still very...
Yes, member sitting behind Rahim, is that Honorable Chiforomondo Makale?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, apart from the quagmire which has been caused by the courts, it is a wake-up call for the courts to ensure that matters which are presented before them, it is concluded on time so that it doesn't cause all this confusion. Because then a lot has expired, has happened before or after the case was taken into court. Mr. Speaker, I have gone through parts of the ruling, and I've seen that they have said that the decision of the majority party in Parliament was done by the electorate. And I want to differ, because then what was the reason for us to come and vote the majority leader here, the speaker and all those leaders whom we did? Then I believe that these people did just purposely to confuse this Parliament, and we need to put our foot down, because then, Mr. Speaker, people outside there need to hear us debating very serious issues which actually affect them. And this is the time to expedite this matter, and your guidance, Mr. Speaker, is paramount and important so that we move on. Otherwise, I see this issue as a time-wasting strategy for this Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me approach this matter on two limbs. First, the position of the Speaker has already been outlined under Article 97, N90, and 106. So there's no one who can challenge the position of the Speaker, who is supposed to be a member of Parliament and who is supposed to be elected as a person who is qualified to be a member of Parliament. Number two, on this issue of leadership, Article standing order number 19A, which is a 19, which is a replica of Article 108, clearly says that the majority party shall produce the majority leader. So the only question that you need to determine when making a decision in this matter, who is the majority party or who is the majority of the coalition party. And that those facts can only be achieved when you invite the registrar of the political parties to give you those facts. And the matter would end there. It's a weighty matter, but very simple to determine. And then we'll be able to determine who will be the majority leader, and any coalition of the parties must be also be brought to this Parliament under under Order 19A. So whatever Honorable Millie Odhiambo purported to bring here was premature, because there was no agreement of political parties that was also brought with the list that she purported to bring before this House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Your immediate neighbor, Kapchai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the courts are intending to throw this House under the bus, and we must be very careful. On the 48 laws of power, Mr. Speaker, they say that if you want to disperse the flock, you strike at the shepherd. And you are the shepherd of this House. Striking you, Mr. Speaker, will disperse the flock of this House. I want to bring to your notice, Mr. Speaker, as you retire to make your judgment, that once this House was led by senior people. And I remember very well, Mr. Speaker, we had in 1993-94, Mr. Speaker, Fort Kenya was a leader of majority in this house, leader of opposition, under Honorable Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. But the moment the Speaker, Fort Kenya split into two, we got Fort Kenya and LDP. Mr. Speaker, during that time, we ran short of seats from 44 to 22, Mr. Speaker. And Honorable Mike Kibaki, with the DP, took over this house as a leader of opposition. That tells you what, Mr. Speaker? The house leadership is dynamic. You can never step in a river twice, Mr. Speaker. If you do that, you are a different man in different waters. Mr. Speaker, this house is dynamic. Make a decision as is. Having heard Honorable Murungara said here, make the decision as is today. Give your evidence and declare. And the Speaker, Honorable Ichung'wa, is a majority leader as is today, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Matuga. Yes. Give it to Honorable Tandaza. There is time, you'll all speak, so don't worry.
Which one? Oh, asante. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Tandaza, so nyorosha maneno.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa sababu mimi ni mhandisi, sikumbuki kama ni mwandishi gani aliyesema kwamba hata ikiwa ulikuwa na farasi wako ambaye unampenda, hata ikiwa ulikuwa na farasi wako ambaye anakimbia mbio kushinda na kuleta zawadi zote, lakini kwa bahati mbaya umri wako umefika na amefariki, haina haja uendelee kumbembeleza ule farasi, haina haja uendelee kumletea chakula ule farasi kwa sababu ulikuwa unampenda sana, ati atamka ndio aweze kukushindia zile mbio ulikuwa unazitaka. Kitu cha kufanya ni kutafuta farasi mwingine, umlishe, umfanyishe mazoezi, aendelee kushinda. Sasa uamuzi huu kwa kifupi umepitwa na wakati, na najua wanahistoria ni wengi hapa, ndio maana tunazungumza kwa kirefu, lakini ukweli ulivyo, na sidhani kama kuna mtu ambaye anateshwishi na jambo hili, kwamba Azimio ilifariki. Kama hawataki kuizika ni sawa, lakini tunajua ilifariki, na uamuzi unazungumzia Azimio ambayo haipo. Sasa tutafufua vipi farasi ambaye amefariki hata kama tulikuwa tunampenda? Ndugu zangu, tukubalianeni, Spika tulimchagua sawa sawa. Kiongozi walio wengi ni Kimani Ichung'wa, yuko hapa na bado ndio tuko wengi. Sasa sioni haja tukidhani hata tutamfufua farasi. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of rules. Kenya is a country of laws. Today, the ruling that will be given about this matter will determine whether the house is a house that obeys court orders or a house that disobeys court orders. There is judiciary for a reason. There is legislature for a reason. There is executive for a reason. But this time, today, the court has issued a ruling. There is no way that a court can issue a court ruling and then it's taken to a police station, and then the court, then people, the police officers, Mr. Speaker, the House, there is no way that a court issues a court ruling, then it is taken to the police station, then you tell the police officers that you guys have a discussion about this court ruling and then decide to the left or right. There is a court ruling. This country is a country that should obey court orders, and we should obey this court order. This parliament should obey the court order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bukose. Give to Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think on the issues about the position of the Speaker, I was your agent, Honorable Speaker, during that time, and I can confirm that there was no requirement for you that you should be able to resign as the party leader of Ford Kenya. So I think that's something that is passed. On this issue about the majority and minority, Honorable Speaker, as you retreat, I want you to be guided by our Constitution, because in Article 108, it talks of the leader of the majority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the largest party or coalition of parties. And as it stands now, that is Kimani Ichung'wah, is the leader in the National Assembly of the largest coalition. And Junet Mohammed is the leader of the second coalition in the National Assembly. And the Honorable Speaker, the court gave you a chance that you should be able to rule as it is now. And that is why it talks of ex parte and ante. And therefore, I think it is a new beginning that you are able to rule, and as you rule today, it stands from there moving forward. So it is not a question of going back as after the elections, pre-election agreements, or anything of that nature. I rest my case, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Garissa Mjini.
Yeah, Mujini. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We have been raising our hands here for quite a long time.
Don't complain, I've given you an opportunity to make your point.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, there is some confusion here in that some people are misinterpreting the court ruling, in that the decision of the court was that a decision has been made on who is the majority and who is the minority coalition in this House. The decision of the court was that, the ruling of the court was that your decision that you made on the 6th of October was null and void. However, who is to make this decision again? It is not for the courts. It is for the Speaker of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, we have sat here for the whole afternoon and no other business of this House can take place because a decision has to be made. Can you make that decision, Mr. Speaker? It is upon you, it is with you. The coalitions, this issue is just about numbers. We know the numbers, you know the numbers. Make the decision based on those numbers that you have. This is a political issue. It has nothing to do with the illegal issue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Alice Nganga of Fika. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 2022, a ruling was done in this House, and Kimani Ichung'wah was declared as the majority leader, and to me, that ruling still stands. Mr. Speaker, National Assembly is an independent arm of government, and whatever business that we do here stands. Courts cannot make laws. It is us who do it here. So when they go outside there and a ruling was done in 2022 and they purport to change that ruling, that making a country to come to a standstill, does it mean, Mr. Speaker, you clarify for us all the businesses that we have concluded in this House, is it null and void? Does it mean everything that we have done in this House does not count? The courts need to know they stop interfering with the running of this House. And what I have seen from this ruling, Mr. Speaker, these are people who don't wish this nation well. They are outside here because of broad base to scatter everything and the achievement that we have achieved this far. And the only big word I can tell them, washindwe tena sana.
Is that big? Thank you. Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker. Check. Check, yes. Mr. Speaker, you are up to the task. You are a veteran speaker, you are a veteran lawyer, you are a veteran politician.
And you are senior.
And my senior. The fact of the matter is that now there is a High Court decision. The question would be, what will you do with it? I want to bring to your attention, and I'm sure your staff will bring this to you, the ruling which you made on 8th of June about the issue of political parties, and you are the only speaker who respects the rule of law. You came here, the very first speech you gave was heartwarming. That you came here to protect the Constitution. You came here above all to, please give me a little time. I think we are at the end of the, yes. You came here to, if there is a court order, although you differ with them, although you could have a respectful view otherwise, but you'll obey it. What you said was this on that day, that I think, let me just get it for you. In difference to the directions the court with respect to the appellate administration process, I did notify the House, despite the discomfort of this decision caused on the business of the House. Immediately thereafter, I instructed the liaison litigation counsel to challenge the speaker. As your speaker, I remain cognizant of the obligation imposed on Article 3 of the Constitution, with respect to defend the Constitution and proceedings of the House. Despite the sympathies I hold for the predicament of the minority party, my hands are tied with regards to the court order. The only question, all these debates in the afternoon are neither here or there. The issue is there is now an order. We wait that you make a decision, and cognizant to the rule of law, which under Article 10 is very conspicuous, we know that you will do it. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Dr. Nyikal. Sorry, Doctor, with your age, we've kept you for so long.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
But he will
Mr. Speaker, before the court, the question was, a decision has been made that of two coalition parties, one is the majority. That was what before the court. The court decided that that decision was not correct. And therefore, it stands to reason that the other one must be the majority party. And therefore, what was before you is, as people saying, Mr. Speaker, you'll make a decision, or you will resolve, or you do. What is remaining is for you to implement the decision of the court. But if you take the position, Mr. Speaker, that the status ante is what prevails, then, Mr. Speaker, again, did you have to subject the whole House for this lengthy discussion? All that was there was to let the process go on. And you should have adjourned this House long time ago, because in reality, this House cannot proceed if, as constituted, it has no majority or minority leadership. Mr. Speaker, as regards as to whether you will be fair, sometimes I think justice actually can be beyond the law. You are a leader of a party, it is known. That party is part of a coalition, you are known. They have members that sit in this House. Mr. Speaker, you have to be an angel, not actually to be favor one part. And even this decision, some may be tempted to think that is what actually drove your decision. You are a very experienced lawyer. You are very articulate. You know the law. How is it that you made the decision that the court has found actually not to be correct? So, Mr. Speaker, one, I think we should look at the position that if somebody is a leader of a party, can they be a Speaker of the House? And two,
read the judgment. Honorable Ruth Odinga. I'll give you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I long wanted to speak. First of all, I would like to state that I'm not a lawyer, and I really don't know much about law. What actually makes me puzzled is when I see lawyers who respect the law and decisions made by courts when it favors them. And when it doesn't, then you say that we have quasi decision in Parliament, we are quasi whatever and whatever. Mr. Speaker, the court has nullified your decision, and therefore we go back to what I would say is a status quo ante. And in the status quo ante, it was very, very obvious that the party that the political parties declared was Azimio as the majority. So in itself, when we say we go back to the status quo ante, that is the position we are supposed to have. I am not agreeing, I'm not having 1 minute because that is short. Secondly, most of those parties that have said that they are Azimio, those Azimio parties have not left the coalition. They have stated and they've said they want to leave, but they have not left. So as far as we are still here, most of them, they're there. They're still under Azimio, and therefore they belong to this party. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, one of the things you are accused of was impartiality. Even through your demeanor and how you actually are giving people a chance to speak here and how we are, that impartiality still shows. I don't know whether that decision means that you're the one who's going to decide on whether who's going to be, because if it is you, we know which side you're going to go. Please let us have somebody else come and make the decision. Thank you.
Ruth Odinga, you are grossly out of order. You are grossly out of order. Bring a motion and discuss the speaker, if you wish. Ruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate you and thank you for the leadership you have shown to this House for the last 2.5 years. You have read us with a lot of wisdom and acumen. Also, Mr. Speaker, I want also to congratulate the Majority Leader, Kimani Ichung'wah, because for the last 2.5 years he has done an incredible job. Mr. Speaker, judiciary delayed this ruling for 2 years, and they say, as they say, justice delayed is justice denied, Mr. Speaker. This does not say that the ruling is spot on. Mr. Speaker, the separation of powers, as far as our Constitution is concerned, is a very critical principle which underpins the way the three arms of government should be able to operate at work. Mr. Speaker, if you refer to the political parties, to the registrar of political parties, you'll be able to get the results or the membership of parties within the coalitions. And this will give you a very straight answer on which side is the majority in this House. I am sure this is not a difficult ruling. It's not a difficult thing for you to do, Mr. Speaker. You'll be able to retreat and come up with an answer guided by the registrar of political parties. And I am sure the results will be that Kenya Kwanza Coalition is the majority in this House, and therefore we stand to produce the leader of majority, the leader of minority, the leader of
Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I'm going to close this debate at 6. So those I'll give space, please compose your idea.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As a country, as members of Parliament, we swore to protect the Constitution of Kenya. Respecting a court decision is not a matter of discretion, it is a must. Until the High Court decision is appealed or set aside, we have no other option but to accept and obey the court decision. Honorable Speaker, the ruling has brought us to 4. When is an election held? When are the results announced? And once the results are announced, does any other body in this country have the power to change the composition of the membership of this Parliament? Honorable Speaker, elections were held in August 2022. The numbers were very clear. The numbers have not changed. And Article 108 is very clear what becomes what and what becomes what. Honorable Speaker, the ruling you are being invited to make is generally not even a ruling. Until we annul the court order, then we have no choice that the decision you made has been annulled, and the decision you made then was to say Kenya Kwanza was the majority party. The other opposite is very simple, straightforward. that if it was annulled, you have to go back and find the details. Who was the majority party then? Because the decision was being annulled is that particular decision. I do not know what else we are supposed to do. On the issue of your position as Speaker and the member of for the Kenya Party, is neither here nor there. Because that's, we leave it to your conscience. Whether it impacts your impartiality or not, we leave it to your conscience. You are an elder. We respect you. We would not want to go into that matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Bissau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I received this ruling and I've read it very clearly. I've also listened to the lawyers in the House, but surprisingly, starting with the first item, whether it is correct for you to remain the party leader of Fort Kenya and at the same time be the Speaker, our Constitution is very clear. Article 77(2), it talks about an appointed officer who shall not hold a political party position. But you are not you are not an appointed state officer. You are elected. And my neighbor here, Dr. Bokosa, I remember he was your chief agent. And many of us voted for you, including my brother, your senior counsel, your learned friend, Atendo Molo, who actually voted for you. So that, we park it and we leave it at that. And even across the border, your colleagues, Aneta Mong, she's the Speaker of Uganda. She's actually, in fact, even now vying for a position in NRM. Dr. Tulia Axon, she's also an elected person. So there's nothing that restricts you to remain the Fort Kenya party leader and be the Speaker at the same time. On the other issue, about the majority and minority, I have read this ruling very clearly. But again, our courts have not come out clearly to say what is what. And if you look at Roman 3, on their decision, it talks about an order of certiorari is hereby issued quashing the Honorable Speaker's ruling or determination contained in his communication from the chair made on 6th October 2022 on the majority and minority in the National Assembly.
Thank you. Yeah. Give him half a minute.